Welcome back to Kinda Funny Reactions. This time to The Bad Batch, episode 4. It's called Cornered. As always, I'm Tim Gettys, joined by the boss baby himself, Barrett Courtney.
Tim, just tell me what to pull out. Just tell me what to pull out. Just tell me what to rip out of that fucking ship right there, Tim.
I don't know where that was going at all.
I didn't either. And of course, we have Roger Picorni.
Roger. See, I'm getting better.
I love it. I love it so much. So, Barrett, let's start with you. What did you think? Actually, before you do that, the rigmarole of the show. Sorry, forgot about this. This is Kinda Funny Reactions. It's our new show where each and every week we react and review all the latest TV and movies, TV shows and movies. You can get it on youtube.com/kindafunny or roosterteeth.com. If you want to get it as a podcast, you can do that by searching your favorite podcast service for Kinda Funny Reactions. If you want to get the show ad-free, you can go to patreon.com/kindafunny. We appreciate you so very, very much. Barrett, now back to you. What'd you think?
Episode 4, Cornered. I liked it more than my initial reactions from episode 3, but like after talking to you guys after episode 3, I started to appreciate episode 3 a little more. And this definitely has a similar vibe of like, here's like the small little adventure of the week kind of thing. But I still really liked how they worked in what's her name? Fennec. I liked how they worked in her in. Didn't feel too like convenient or anything. Like it makes sense of like where she is in the galaxy of like this new empire and her being a bounty hunter and stuff like that. So I thought that was a cool connection there. And just like there's just the crew working together in their own weird little ways. I loved the bit with Echo having to pretend to be a droid. I really liked the Wrecker trying to take on Fennec. He's like, I'm gonna like take you down, and then she takes him out in like one hit, which was really good. I thought it was a fun episode, even though it was like just a small adventure of the week, nothing like too big happening. Little tidbits here and there, like sprinkled on that that Filoni is really good at, of like world building and also building of like this mystery around Omega, and so I enjoyed it.
Roger.
I enjoyed this episode a little bit less than last episode, but I thought that the inclusion of Fennec was good because honestly, she was pretty forgettable to me in The Mandalorian, especially in season 1. Like when she came back, I was like, oh, what was her deal? What was she doing? So it was cool. It's cool to see her come back. And I think that this episode, even though it was definitely like the adventure of the week, it had some. I think this show specifically compared to like a Rebels is a lot more denser, and we're getting a lot more things going on. Like for instance, like the Echo storyline, that would have just been an entire episode of Rebels. Like that would have just been like him like hanging out.
That would have been the A plot of that.
100%. So like the fact that there's so much going on, and like also the inclusion of Omega and all of the of Clone Force 99 trying to figure out like interpersonal communication with like credits and things like that. It's a lot of little subtle things that I enjoyed, and also the big action sequences were fun. But it's a solid episode. I feel like this was the episode. This is one of the episodes that maybe like, okay, this is a very dense show, and they're going for something a little bit more substantial in the show compared to a Rebels. And I thought it was pretty decent.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, comparing it to Rebels. I haven't made too much more progress into season 2 so far, but that is such an apt thing. Like you can just really see how they have really kind of honed in on how to do these and what they should be doing with them, especially in a new streaming world of like just the way that the medium in which these shows are happening has changed, and the way people are even like consuming them has changed. Not just in format, but also just in terms of what it's surrounded by. And I think that this is my least favorite episode of the season so far, but that's almost an irrelevant comment because that's not the point of the show, is comparing episode to episode. It is kind of just every single thing's growing on itself. And I really like how this show not only grows on itself, but is growing within the Star Wars universe, where this was very clearly adventure of the week type episode. But having Fennec in it, like I think Roger, you were just saying that like you didn't really care about it too much in Mandalorian. Just seeing her more makes us care, and it kind of does that retroactive thing of making us care about her more in Mandalorian. And at some point, if they keep doing these shows and if the quality maintains this high, we're gonna constantly be getting Adventure of the Weeks in a bunch of different shows that have the cameos or that have the appearances from characters that just keeps strengthening itself, right? Like, and that's kind of like is what's building out this Filoni-verse into being something that is substantial and actually matters. So next time we see Fennec in Book of Boba Fett, we're going to be like, oh shit, we have more to like kind of latch on to.
Yeah,
with
like
her.
more
I thought she
backstory
was
stuff, and
If you go to
she was a lot of fun in this episode.
Yeah.
It's funny when I was trying to like rack my mind of what her whole thing was, and I went to the Wikipedia, and like the first thing in Wikipedia is basically the exact like synopsis of this episode. So it's like you're right, like it's going like they're going to slowly build out these characters throughout the Filoni-verse, and I think that's really interesting for sure.
And something else that we talked about on this show a couple weeks ago is my favorite thing about these Star Wars shows is when things are out of timeline. Or at least the timelines we associate them with. So seeing Tarkin on Camino was like such a cool moment for me. And like seeing Fennec, who granted it's a new character, but like we only have seen her in a post Return of the Jedi timeline. Like seeing her now here, which like feels still more prequel era than original trilogy, even though it is kind of like the bridge between it. It's cool.
Yeah, like I definitely agree with you of like the having more it's the bridge, and I really felt that this episode too when they were like kind of exploring the city and stuff. I was like, this definitely feels like prequel era vibes of like just like the aesthetic of everything, which was interesting and fun. And yeah, like her, even though she like again there wasn't like this whole grand thing with her, I just really liked seeing how she interacts with different characters that isn't just the Mandalorian and Boba Fett, right? And just seeing like how she would go about like trying to capture Omega and stuff like that. And so, because I thought she wasn't going to be subtle whatsoever in the fact that she kind of like played around with Omega and mentally, not actually like playing with her or anything. I thought was very interesting and very different from what I would expect of her character. So yeah, just little things like that. And yeah, like what we were mentioning of like the whole like figuring out credits, like that again, that governor who I keep forgetting his fucking name, just a random white dude governor.
Rampart.
Yes,
sure.
Yes.
Like we see him again and like talking about like exchanging credits for Imperial credits and stuff like that. And like, again, this whole transition that even Hunter notices like it's happening way faster than we were expecting. And so just like little tidbits I thought were really cool there. And again, like there's just like little sprinkles that even though this is an adventure of the week, like you were saying, Roger, it feels dense. So there's nothing that ever feels like a waste of an episode entirely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the coolest thing is it's like, again, it's building the denseness of it all where every single step builds on itself that just makes the next episode kind of feel worth watching because all the other things led to it. And it's like, that's good TV. And like, again, this is an animated show. And so far, this has been the most consistently paced of the Star Wars animated shows. Because I've at least in the first season, because I've now one season in Rebels and I've seen the beginning of Clone Wars so many times. This is like, oh shit, you're telling a good story here. And like, I'm excited for next week. It has me in a really good place where I am now. I've crossed the line of I'm excited that it's 16 episodes. I buy into the fact that it's not going to be filler and they have a story that they're telling. And what you're talking about, Barrett, about the transition happening fast. I love that it is happening fast, but they're dealing with that in canon. They're dealing with it happening fast, being like, whoa, how do we go through with all this? And they're trying to address how that's affect the politics of it all and the economics of it all, how it affects the normal people and the Empire themselves. And it's like that kind of intrigue is really cool. And that's what I want more of from especially that era. And it's something that I never expected we'd get, especially not with this much detail being peppered in week to week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like that little moment of Omega talking to Hunter, and he's like, and she's like, "Isn't this like good? Like we won the war. Like I don't understand that." And I think those little moments like that really build upon each other. And like, there's kind of a theme this episode. I don't know if you guys noticed this of like credits. Like I mentioned that earlier, but like the idea that like first of all they need credits to survive. They're trying to sell Echo for credits, but then also in the beginning, Wrecker and Tech not understanding the idea that like you need to give somebody money for like for like them doing you a favor. But then also the one that I really enjoyed was Omega learning what stealing was. like her being like, oh, like you don't have to pay for that. Like I don't like, and I think that was like kind of like it's always like when you have a character in the Star Wars universe that is like very pure, you kind of like always have that moment where like, are they going to go to the dark side? Or someone can influence them to that side? And there was a little touch of that, not necessarily saying that she's going to start stealing everything now, but it was like she's learning and she's understanding
the understanding of like what it means to survive and what Fennec says, like a dangerous galaxy.
Yeah, 100%. And that was that little touch. It's very subtle, but and also something that isn't subtle that I really enjoyed. I think it's just at this point very funny. Wrecker just getting hit in the same side of the head every episode, which I really hope just keeps on happening.
I mean, I'm like, episode. You hope it keeps on happening, but I'm scared the motherfucker is gonna like 1 week be like, all right, let's find Jedis to kill, and it's gonna be like,
the Empire.
No.
Yeah.
Oh no!
I'm really scared where this group is gonna end up. And like, do we have a confirmed like season 2 of Bad Batch? Like, do we know where like is this?
Not yet.
Okay, so
yeah.
Like I really. I'm so scared because like I hate that like I'm loving these characters more and more, and like the most frequent comment I see every week is like people who don't like Wrecker. Like I kind of understand like the basis of the character kind of being annoying, but like I think the way that like they grow him and everybody else on the team in just like little small ways just makes you love them more and more. And like I really liked a lot of Wrecker's bits. Like even when Omega is like running in the sewers and she runs and like Wrecker finds her and shit, I was like, oh my god, yes. And just like a little tidbits like that, and like him understanding like to protect like one of their own and stuff like that. And they build the relationship with the team really, really well.
Yeah, you feel that Omega is part of the team now. Like, and I think that's something they really learned from the previous shows that Filoni has done. Like, I feel like Omega is part of this now. Like, she isn't like the annoying kid or whatever. Like, she is part of this team. She makes this team, and I think that they've done a really fantastic job with her, honestly.
This episode is brought to you by MeUndies. I love MeUndies. I have loved them for years. Legitimately, almost everything I wear is MeUndies. I'm wearing a MeUndies shirt right now. Of course, I got the undies on. I got some MeUndies lounge shorts going on and some MeUndies socks. Why? Because of their soft micro-modal fabric. I love it so much. I want it all over my body, and that's what I do each and every day of my life. And guess what? MeUndies makes it easy to match too. You can match your bottom half to your better half or halves. Yes, you can match your friends too. MeUndies helps you find matching pairs in the style and color or print of undies that's right for you and your boo, because who doesn't love a secret twinning moment? I know I do. Me and Gia do it all the time, whether it's us matching just the simple black or matching some fun bold prints like with little sushis all over it. Sushis? What's the plural? I don't know how that works. Doesn't matter. What does matter is you can get 15% off your first order and free shipping by going to MeUndies.com/morning. That's MeUndies.com/morning to get 15% off your first order and free shipping. MeUndies.com/morning. Sushis. Yeah. You know what's crazy to think about? Like, we know the status of the Marvel shows. Like, we're in phase 4 at this point, where it's like it's rolling on. The movie's about to start coming out, and the shows have already started, and they're just like nonstop back to back. Star Wars is in a weird place where you know it kind of feels start, like a little bit.
Yeah.
Where it's like we have these Mandalorian kind of, obviously the movie moments, and then we've had the Mandalorian kind of tentpole events year after year. Having this, but then not really knowing what's after this is kind of weird. Like, we know the lineup of the shows and we have all that, but we just don't have dates or times.
Yeah, or like what exactly? Like, we know like Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian season 3, the end of this year still ? And then
that's
also,
the thing.
Rangers of the Republic is apparently not in development anymore. I saw that on Variety yesterday.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So apparently that's not maybe happening. So it's interesting. It's kind of all up in the air.
I mean, yeah, but after with all that stuff with
Gina.
Gina Carano. Like, I imagine they tried to take a little bit of time to see if the show could work without her character, and maybe they just eventually we're just like it's not worth it.
See, that's interesting because like that show, that Ahsoka and
Obi-Wan,
Mandalorian, no, not Obi-Wan, Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett, Kathleen Kennedy was saying, are all building to a shared event show.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how they're gonna just if they just don't do one of them, unless they just take elements, and maybe that'll make the other shows better though. Like add that density that we're talking about here. But it's just, and we know there's the Andor show coming too, right? Yeah. But it's like and Star Wars Visions, the anime one, which sounds really interesting.
Oh yeah, I
Very
forgot
excited
about
about
that.
Yeah, but it's like I kind of feel like we're gonna get into the equivalent of the Phase 4 of Star Wars starting next year. Like it
Yeah.
feels like the Bad Batch is happening right now to tide us over, and then I imagine the end of this year will at least get the beginning of Book of Boba Fett, and then you got to imagine from there on it's just kind of like cool, and then Andor, and then Obi-Wan, and then Visions, and then just keep going. That's gonna be really exciting when we're like in the thick of it, and it's not just Bad Batch adding on itself week after week, but it's this entire Star Wars mythology.
And I think it's interesting because I think there's a big question now where this is the first real Star Wars animated show that has the ability to cross over from animated straight to live action in a seamless way. And I feel like we've had like Ahsoka pop in, of course, but that's been like years in between and everything. So there's a possibility where this show could very really like go directly into the Book of Boba Fett or something like that. And I wonder
with the connection of Fennec and like maybe we run into Boba at some point. Like we
talked about that last week.
Yeah,
that's totally a possibility.
Like so, yeah, there could be possible tie-ins, not necessarily the Bad Batch themselves popping into the Boba Fett, but events in this season affecting something for Book of Boba Fett. That's a good point, Roger.
Where did we leave Fennec? Sorry. Where did we find Fennec in Mandalorian?
She was on Tatooine. She was the episode where they introduced Tatooine, and that was the one where like the Han Solo wannabe character was like, I need to get into the guild, and this is like my one job. Help me out and do this. And then so Mando like was helping him out, track down Fennec, and then
shot in the stomach, right?
Yeah, the Han Solo wannabe like shot her in the stomach because he found she told him about Mando being like a high reward for the guild, and then Boba, and at the end of that episode, that's when we got the first tease, I believe, of Boba Fett
himself,
and like finding her and stuff like that. So that's how we like first got like introduced to her.
Gotcha.
Which I'm glad she didn't end up dead because like that's Ming-Na Wen. I love that she's in the Star Wars universe and stuff. And when they killed her in that episode, I was like, that's like one of the draws. Like I was excited to see her. So I'm glad that like Filoni has a plan for her and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, and there's still the tease of who is she working for.
I wanted to bring that up next. Of like, is it the Kaminoans?
That's what I'm assuming, but I mean, it could definitely not be. So I don't know.
My thing is that at the end of the episode, right? She like she doesn't fully pay the dude that was helping her out. She just like kind of tips him like, you fucked up, but like we're like, if they come back, like let me know, like how to call me and stuff. And then she contacts whoever she's working for. And the fact that like we didn't see the Kaminoans end of that conversation makes me think that this isn't the Kaminoans. And so I just wanted to throw that out there. If it's not them, who do we think it could possibly be? I really have no idea. Just like throwing it out there of like the conspiracy Steve. I'll rip that from Paris Lily. Talks of like, is she a part clone of the Emperor? Like, does he know about this and stuff like that? Like, I just wanted to see if you guys had any crazy theories yet.
No, but I love the idea that it is the Kaminoans, because if it is, Star Wars, we've joked for decades at this point that everything's always going back to Tatooine. Why do we always end up back at Tatooine? And now the new one is it's always related to Boba Fett. It's Tatooine and Boba Fett. What are the chances if it is the Kaminoans that have hired Fennec, and it's like, okay, cool. So you got the tie to the clones and to the original Fett clone then, and then you end up meeting Boba Fett years later on Tatooine. Like, of course. It all has to connect there.
Yeah, 100%. It's just Jango Fett. He sewed his head back on. He's there. He's doing his fun little thing.
Someone else knows about Omega, and I don't think it's the Kaminoans who hired Fennec. Because again, like the Kaminoans were like the ones who kind of let Omega go with Bad Batch and are trying to play like a interesting long game when it comes to her, because I think they figured that she wouldn't be safe if she stayed on Kamino, and so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But I'm calling it here. It's not the Kaminoans. Someone else knows about Omega and what she truly is.
Yeah. Well, Whatever she truly is, we'll have to wait to find out. This is going to be our last of the weekly discussions of Bad Batch for right now. We're going to come back after a couple episodes add up so we can talk about all of them at once. But we're going to continue this show. Next week, we're doing a review of A Quiet Place. We're doing a review of MODOK Season 1 that's available on Hulu. So do your homework. Watch that this weekend. And then we're going to keep doing stuff after that. But till then, love you guys. Goodbye.